Hi guys, Charles here and welcome back to my channel. This week I was inspired by revisiting a classic Michael Brecker interview in which he discusses his practice routine. In particular, he emphasises how important he considers creating new vocabulary to be and how he works on these new ideas for months until they eventually emerge in his own playing. In another great video, Bernstein was talking about how important it is to stick to the framework of the melody while improvising. The clips can be found below in the description box if you want to look into them further. Both are, of course, brilliant ideas, which I personally need to prioritise more in my own practice. Therefore, I thought about how to combine the two concepts and how to construct new vocabulary from a given melody, and vocabulary which can be used over not only the tune that the original melody was drawn from, but can be split into smaller cells of unique original vocab which can be used in any tune. So I'm going to share my thoughts with you and give you a method by which you can take somebody else's original material, generate your own ideas, and then split them into unique cells of original vocabulary. Now, although I'm going to share with you my own thoughts today, I hope the most important thing you take away from this video will be that, as Brecker recommends, you take the time to build your own vocabulary, no matter how you do it. I'm just giving you an approach which seems to make sense to me. Step 1, choose a simple melody. Step 2, finish the phrase with a response if necessary. Step 3 is create a set of simple rules. Step 4, polish up the end result. Step 5, divide into smaller chunks of unique vocabulary. Step 6, repeat. By starting with the melody of a tune which you hope to play better over, you're reducing that barrier of entry if you're feeling particularly uninspired to come up with your own ideas. But of course you could do this with one of your own melodies, or once you've gone through this method a few times, you might choose some of your favourite unique cells and run them back through the method again. I'm going to choose the first 2 bars of I Remember You, because it's a tune which I've been working on a lot recently. So the melody's in the key of F, and with simplified rhythms in its simplest form, it sounds something like this. Because I'm a filthy shredder at heart, I'm going to want to create a high information 16th note line from that melody itself. So in that second bar, I'm going to need a bit more melody to work with. So my first challenge is to create a response which will finish that second bar that feels natural to me. Because the melody ends with those 3 ascending notes, I'm going to simply copy and paste that, but over the new chord, which is E7. So the final melody with the original call and my new response would sound like this. Now I'm going to create a set of rules which I'm going to follow whilst filling in the 16th notes between the melody's quarter notes. These are completely arbitrary rules and can be as simple or as complicated as you like. They might be based on a concept you're currently working on. Brecker mentions a specific relationship between triads in his interview, for example. Eventually you'll want to decide on a set of rules that you feel best reflect your musical philosophy and aesthetic, to make sure that the end result is unique to you. But you certainly don't need to be able to do that straight away. That's something you can think about over the next few months. For me, I'm going to say that my notes must travel in the opposite direction to the next melody note, and also that the phrase must start with a leap, i.e. I can't use as my first added note a next door note to the melody note which I've just played. So my first 2 notes were E and F. I'm going to simply descend through a little arpeggio here. I want to start with an interval, so I'm off that E, I'm not going to use an F or a D, so I'm going to go downwards because my melody is going to go from an E to an F, and one of my rules was I want to travel in the opposite direction. So because E to F is ascending, I'm going to descend in these additional notes. And I've chosen this little cell. So I'm in the key of F here, so I'm just sticking to F major. Next, I'm on the melody note F, and my next melody note is a C. I'm going down to a C, so I'm going to have some ascending notes because, again, my rule was I want to travel in the opposite direction to where the melody is eventually traveling. So I've just got that little blues note there, but basically still in F major, and because I know that this is an aesthetic I like, I've got the doubled A note from the 14th fret of the G string to the 10th fret of the B string. I know that's a good trick to give me the modern aesthetic that I like. Beat 3, I'm down to the C. And again, my next melody note's going to be a D, which is up. So my line's going to go downwards, and I'm going to start with a little leap of a minor third down to this 12th fret. Again, just a little bluesy note there with the A flat, but essentially staying in F major. Up to my melody note of D, and that melody note's going to be going next up to a melody note of E to start the next bar. So again, I need a descending phrase. And I just wanted to continue the little interjection I made in the previous section. Thought that sounded good. And so far I've followed all my rules. So now I'm on E again, and my next melody note of the 3 additional notes I originally added is a G sharp, descending. So I want this little phrase to go upwards. And I've kind of done a weird encirclement here, because my next note's a G sharp, as I've already said, but I'm encircling the G sharp an octave up like this. Instead, that final resolution is going to be an octave lower. Which again, an octave displacement, quite a modern trick I like to use. And then the same again, I've got to go downwards, downwards again, and downwards again. So the line so far sounds something like this. Now obviously that's going to require quite a bit of practice, but I now have 2 bars of 16th notes with some sounds in there that I quite like. Obviously though, because I followed a set of rules, that result is a little bit square. So now the next step, before I just stick with what I've created, I'm going to keep going, take it one step further, and use my ears only to start to polish that up and get it a bit closer to where I want it. Now for me, I think the most important thing is to add a bit of rhythmic interest to this. So I'm simply going to add a few triplets in there. I'm also going to use these as an opportunity to fill in some of those bigger intervals and those string skips, which could have been quite a technical issue for me on the guitar. So that sounds something like this. Now I chose I Remember You because it is a tune which I am currently working on. However, it's a really good example by chance of a tune which, although I like some elements of that idea I've come up with, I would probably consider using that playing over I Remember You. However, it's not that practical for use on other tunes. This is because the movement from the 1 chord in bar 1 to the 2-5 of 3, or in other words, bar 1 is the tonic major and bar 2 is the leading note dominant. It's a bit of a strange chord progression that we don't tend to see in many other tunes. So now we simply strip that phrase down for parts and choose the smaller cells that that longer phrase inspired us to create. These fragments will not be recognizable as the original tune, and therefore they can be used in any context. No one's going to hear these smaller fragments and go, oh, it's just I Remember You, because you need the context of the full phrase. So you shouldn't use every single note or every single phrase that you create. You should strip them down, pick your favourite ideas from them, and then you might even wish to run those ideas through the method again to breed further creativity. So for example, from my phrase, I really like the opening line I've created here. I think this would be a really cool line to play not only on a major chord, in this instance obviously I'm starting on the major 7th, but in a minor context as well. This idea really outlines A minor with the major 7 in, which is a pretty cool sound, that melodic sound. I like that. I also like the second half of the first bar. There's kind of a contramotionness to this, or almost like a pedal point of the top notes ascending and the rest of the phrase descending. I like that, and I'd maybe want to continue that idea. That sort of thing. I wouldn't be able to do that on the fly, but you get the idea. The start of the next bar, I really like this as a dominant idea. We've just got a Hendrix chord, essentially. Pretty cool idea, and that all came from I Remember You. Again, if I threw that lick in the middle of a tune, no one would go, oh, that's just I Remember You. It inspired the ideas, but it has nothing to do with them. So with any approach, some results will be better than others. But consistently thinking about creating your own vocab and practicing with a focus on internalising your favourite cells for months at a time, as Brecker suggests, will result in phrases which suit your playing style and preferences, and hopefully will eventually emerge organically in your playing. That seems to me to be a great recipe to end up sounding like yourself. Leave me a comment down below, let me know your own approaches to creating new vocab and any other topics you'd like to see me discuss on this channel. Please do give this video a like, subscribe, ding the notification bell, and share with any of your friends who could do with refreshing their vocab. And as always, I hope you're all doing very well, getting plenty of practice in, and I very much look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.
Roll up, let me embed a story you'll never forget. A drip, drip, you're drowning in debt now. You can't buy your way out, and I heard you find it difficult to cope.